House representatives from both parties are meeting to find solutions, they say, and address concerns about policing and violence. Joining us now live from Washington are two members of that task force, Democratic Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of New York and Republican Congressman Will Hurd of Texas. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. What is the aspiration here? What do you think you can achieve?
Well, the of Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, and those 5 hero police officers in Dallas shocked the nation and once again put front and center the issue of the tense relationship between the police and the community. It's clear that we've got a national problem. It requires, Chris, a national solution, and times like this need leadership. The House is stepping up, Democrats, Republicans, people on different sides of the ideological divide, to try to find common ground to this problem and propose real concrete solutions in a dispassionate, evidence-based, intelligent fashion to try to prevent us as America from being in this situation again and again and again.
Will, I hear what Hakeem Jeffries is saying, and we applaud the effort. We here at CNN, we're calling for Congress to do something about this situation, but the reality is, this is a state issue, this is a local issue, and we saw that President Obama put together a task force, a commission it was called then, after what we saw in Ferguson. Recommendations came out that, were good, logical, practical, and very few have adopted them in localities across the country. So how can you do better?
Well, I think the difference is the commitment from both sides of the aisle on this issue. The first step is to show that despite this circus atmosphere that we see up in Washington, D.C., despite this being an election time, that we can actually work together and talk about these issues in a dispassionate way. The reality is that it's 2016 in the United States and America, and whether your skin is black or brown or your uniform's blue, you shouldn't feel unsafe walking the streets of America. And we can solve this problem. We got to make sure that we don't let people sow fear into our hearts and minds. And I think the difference is the example the 5 lawmakers in Dallas made. These are men that gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect people that were protesting law enforcement. This is, protesting peacefully is a very American thing, and we got to use them as an example. And I think that the tone is different, and the commitment from both sides is different than it has been in the past.
So, Hakeem, how's this going to work?
Well, the task force is going to be led by the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Bob Goodlatte, on the Republican side, and John Conyers, who's the dean of the House of Representatives and the lead Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, on the Democratic side, with members from all across the country who have different perspectives, but who, as Will has indicated, have a commitment to talking about this problem in a manner that doesn't automatically lead to people retreating to either of their ideological corners, but is directed by a genuine good faith effort to try to find real solutions to this issue. I think we can start with areas where I think Democrats and Republicans already agree, such as the need to incentivize local police departments with financial assistance, perhaps to purchase body cameras. That's something that law enforcement and people on the Black Lives Matter side of things have embraced as something that could help bring accountability and a window into what actually happens on the streets from the perspective of both sides. And then to tackle some of these difficult questions that we're going to have to tackle. Because, Chris, this is a recurring problem. And if we're going to solve it, then this time has to be different. And I think the task force is an effort to make sure that this time is different.
And this is one of those few situations, Will, where talk is not cheap. We need to have a conversation. These issues have to be not just felt, but spoken about in reason. Now, one of the practicalities that comes out of these, because unfortunately we've had a lot of examples of this problem over the last few years, or at least the perception of it, is that when you have excessive or a questionable use of force, okay, the question being that it might be excessive, an independent review board of those cases, so that it's not that local police, it's not that local prosecutor, that it's taken away from what people say they don't have confidence in, that seems to be something that gets a lot of traction but never actually happens because, again, it's state by state. Is that something that the federal could have any impact on?
I think it's important to review all these cases and what were the preconditions that were there that existed before the activity happened. Are those preconditions existing in other places around the country? Is there a way we can get ahead of the problem by understanding and reviewing the previous activities? So yes, this is a
no, but Will, I
mean
mean that actual incident. I'm not saying like what the DOJ does right now is it has a very limited scope of what it can actually charge, right? So it goes in and it reviews what happened at the state level. But what they then ask for is, no, we don't want it after the fact. We want it in that present sense. We want this investigated initially by an independent body. What do you think of that idea, and could Congress motivate it?
Well, I think that's already happening in St. Paul right now. Is an example of that. The reality is that we have to look at everything, and we got to make sure people feel comfortable with law enforcement, and that law enforcement feels comfortable with their communities. And if there's outside entities that can help in that, if there's a role for a federal review, these are some of the conversations that should happen, and do it within the existing frameworks that are there. I think this is a problem that can be solved. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be done overnight. This is about making sure that we're understanding the problems first and then articulating some of the solutions.
Will Hurd, Hakeem Jeffries, thank you very much. Our pledge is you get the information to us. We'll get it out. We'll keep this conversation, especially in the interest of progress. Gentlemen, thank you.